Hi everyone, today I'd like to share with you a new lighting product that Ambifil sent out to me to look at. It's called their optical snoot. And basically what an optical snoot is a lighting modifier with a lens attached to it. And this allows you to project a beam of light or project patterns and textures onto your subject or background to give you a lot of different creative control in the studio. Alright, now let's take a closer look at the lighting modifier itself. This is it here, and on the back here we have a standard Bowens mount, which is the most common adapter for most lighting, but you can change this mount to whatever you might have, whether it's Profoto or Elinchrom or maybe a Broncolor via these little thumb screws. But I recommend for most of us we just get the standard Bowens mount because that's what you're going to find on most lighting products. Also here we have a very large heat dissipation barrel. So a lot of times you're going to be attaching this to an LED light, say 200-300 watts like this one, and this can get very, very hot. So this helps dissipate the heat so that the LED doesn't overheat. And then in the front here we have a standard 50mm lens that can be focused and defocused by turning the focus ring here. And then in the lens itself we also have a 58mm filter thread here. And I'll come back to this a little later. That's actually very handy. And then on the top here I have a little slit here where we can insert our gobos. So let's talk about that next. So gobo just stands for go between. So basically what it is, it's an additional modifier that goes between the light source and the subject. And in this case, for the Ambifil, you get these little cards here and they have different shapes. Like these are window blinds and flowers and starburst and some patterns. And they've included 24 different shapes and patterns and textures that you can use as a gobo. And they slide into this little holder here, very simply like this. And then you just put it right into the front here. So as you can see behind me, I just have a spotlight here. And then I would just slide this in to the top. And now I'm projecting this pattern onto the background. And if you want, you can project this pattern directly onto the subject itself. So let me show you a few examples where I was using the gobos for a more dramatic effect. So I was using actually this same pattern and I was projecting it onto myself and on the background to create this much more dramatic portrait. Also, sometimes I like to do film noir type shots where I use the window blind gobo to project a window onto the background, or sometimes directly onto myself and the background at the same time. And here I try to get a little creative, so I shine the window gobo onto the floor and try to make it look like I was maybe in prison. So you're really only limited by your imagination. Now, most of those shots I was shining the gobo straight front and center onto the subject and background, but as you can see, you can move your light stand anywhere with the gobo in it. And what I did in these couple shots is I actually angled the gobo off to the side to create these dramatic shadows and silhouettes of myself. So I used actually the frame gobo to create sort of this doorway effect and shadow. And then another gobo that I really like is the very thin slit gobo, where it just creates a very narrow slip of light across anything you want. So in this case, I just create a very narrow strip of light going across my eyes in this shot here. Now, generally speaking, up to this point, I've been focusing the gobo so all the lines are nice and crisp, so you see a very clear pattern. But again, you can defocus the gobos. So if you look at this shot here, where it's a nice crisp line strip of light, it didn't quite work for me, so all I had to do is just defocus the gobo a little bit by turning the focus ring on the lens, and I got this shot here, and I think this came out a lot nicer. So not only do you have all these different shapes and patterns and textures that you can have nice crisp lines or defocus, but they've also included like these 5 different gels. So you get red, green, blue, yellow, and orange. This allows you to be even more creative using color. So like in this shot here, I was using the red gel to create this sci-fi effect with the streaky lines going over my face in the background. And then here I was trying some still life, so I projected a window with sort of a green background. I was thinking maybe I should have used yellow to get a sunlight effect, but as you can see, you can pick any different color or combination of gobo and gel to get all these different effects, and then also, make crisp lines or defocus them if you'd rather have more of a pattern or texture in the background. Now, because this has a 58mm filter ring, this allows you to attach any kind of filter that you might do, like on your camera lens, for example. The only problem is this is opposite, right? Instead of capturing light, it's projecting light. So the kind of filters that you would put on the front of this is going to vary or be very limited. So maybe you could put a mist filter or something like that, which doesn't make any sense to me. But I did find one filter adapter that did come in very handy here as I was learning to use this device, and that is the wide angle converter. So I picked this up for about $30 on Amazon, and basically what it does is it doubles the size of the projection. And if you're working in a very small space like I am here in my home studio, this can make a really big difference because I can only back this thing up so far and make the projection so big. So let me show you the difference. I'm going to put the light stand about maybe 2.5 meters away from the background so you can see the size of the projection, and then I'm going to put this on so you can see how much bigger the projection is if I want to spread that pattern or shape even further. All right, so let me move this back here. So I'm going to use sort of this rectangular gobo here, which is already pretty big. I mean, it takes up most of the space inside the ring here, or adapter. And as you can see here, it only comes down to here. But let me put the wide angle adapter on. As you can see, now we're all the way up here, all the way down to here, so I actually have to adjust the light. And if I back up the light even further, I can get a full projection from the floor all the way up to the top. Now I want to give you a few more tips on using this, and that is you want to use this with continuous lighting like LED, and you want to have at least 200 watts, if not 300 watts would be ideal. I found that I was using this a lot at the 200 watt range, but time to time I did need to crank this up to 300 watts, especially when I was using one of those thin strip type gobo modifiers. The light is reduced quite a bit. It's like closing your aperture all the way down to like f40 or something. So have a very powerful LED light. Now you can use this with flash. All you need to do is get sort of like one of these S-mount adapters, or which has the Bowens mount built in, and then you can put in like a Godox V1 or TT685, whatever. That will be equivalent to, say, maybe a 300 watt LED, but ideally if you can get an 8200 or an 8400 even, the much bigger flashes. It's not that you need 400 watts of flash power all the time, unless you're doing like series product photography and things. But the modeling lamp in 8400 is just bright enough so that you can see the projection on the subject, and then you can make adjustments or move the subject to get it in the perfect position. The modeling lamp on these little V1s are just not powerful enough for you to see where the projection is landing, so you're going to have to take a couple of test shots to see what it's going to look like before you actually take the final image. Now this retails for around $130, $140, and I think there's some discounts going on right now. I'll have my affiliate links down below, you can check it out. But I think it's a tremendous value considering you get 24 gobos, you get the 5 gels, and you get the 50mm lens included. And it's relatively compact and lightweight, say, compared to other optical snoots I've purchased before. For example, I bought this one here. I forget who makes this, but don't get this one. The one where it has a giant lens on the front, because to focus this, it's terrible. And it's very dark. It kills even more light than this one does. And I think that's because of the way they designed the inside of the barrel inside here. And it's very, very front heavy. So that puts a lot of weight here on the back of the Bowens mount. And I wouldn't use this on anything but a professional grade studio light. Something like this, these are consumer grade, right? The Moelis G200s and some of the other ones I have. It's going to stress the Bowens mount and maybe even break it because it's so front heavy. This one here, that's not the case. It's very well balanced, and it's not that heavy overall. It's probably about half the weight of that one. So I have no trouble using it on any of my LED lights. But that's all I have for today. I hope you liked this review. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.